Pam Bondi was one of the most influential women in the country. Her legal career, political rise, and unwavering determination made her a hero to her supporters and a formidable adversary to her critics. But today, she had no idea she was about to face one of the most intense moments of her career. The Justice Forum 2025, one of the largest legal conferences in Florida, was bringing together some of the most powerful figures in the nation. Pam Bondi was set to be the keynote speaker. The grand ballroom of a luxurious hotel was packed with attendees eagerly awaiting her speech. Dressed in an elegant but authoritative navy blue suit, Pam walked toward the podium with her usual confidence. The audience erupted into applause, a mix of admiration and curiosity filling the room. She smiled briefly, adjusting the microphone before beginning her speech. Ladies and gentlemen, justice is not just a concept, it is a responsibility. And today, more than ever, we must stand firm in defending the principles that make our legal system strong. Her words carried weight, as they always did. She had built her career on holding people accountable, whether in the courtroom or in the political arena. But as she spoke, a figure in the audience stood up abruptly. A young woman, no older than her late 20s, pushed her way toward the front, her eyes burning with determination. She wasn't just any attendee. She was a well-known activist, Samantha Reed, a rising star in the media world, notorious for her aggressive questioning and viral interviews. Pam paused slightly, noting the tension in the room. The security team shifted in their positions, ready to act. Then, Samantha shouted out before the moderator could step in. "Ms. Bondi, you talk about justice. But what about the people who don't have a voice? What about those who suffer because of the policies you support?" A murmur rippled through the crowd. Some nodded in agreement, others scoffed at the interruption. The cameras flashed, recording what was quickly becoming a high-stakes confrontation. Pam took a breath, maintaining her composure. She had faced tough questions before, but something about this moment felt different. The energy in the room had shifted. This wasn't just a question. This was a direct challenge, and the whole country was about to witness her response. A hush fell over the ballroom as all eyes turned toward Pam Bondi. The moment Samantha Reed had interrupted her speech, everything changed. The cameras zoomed in, and the energy in the room became charged with anticipation. Pam Bondi, no stranger to tough confrontations, kept her expression neutral, but she could sense the weight of the moment. She took a small step away from the podium, signaling she was ready to address the challenge head-on. "Samantha," she said calmly, addressing the activist by name, "justice is about ensuring that everyone has a voice. But there's a difference between advocating for justice and creating chaos. Do you want to have a real conversation, or do you want a headline?" The crowd stirred at her words. Some smirked, impressed by Bondi's confidence. Others muttered, eager to see how the activist would respond. Samantha didn't back down. She took a deep breath and tightened her grip on the microphone she had managed to grab from a nearby staff member. "A real conversation. All right, let's talk. You claim to fight for the law. But what happens when the law fails the people it's meant to protect?" Pam tilted her head slightly, as if evaluating Samantha's words. She had been in courtrooms, in political debates, on live television. She had faced relentless interrogations. But this was different. This was public theater, and everyone was watching. The tension in the room was palpable. A man near the front row whispered to his colleague, "This is going to be all over the news by morning." Pam exhaled slowly, knowing this was a defining moment. She could dismiss Samantha outright, but that would make her look like she was avoiding the question. Or she could do what she had always done, turn the confrontation into an opportunity. She leaned forward slightly. Laws are not perfect, Samantha. That's why we fight to improve them. But screaming in a ballroom isn't the way to fix anything. Tell me, what is it you actually want? Change or attention? The audience gasped. Some clapped. Others murmured their approval or disapproval. Samantha's face flushed slightly, but she quickly recovered. She smirked. If I wanted attention, I wouldn't be here asking real questions, would I? Pam nodded slightly, acknowledging the comeback. She could see the fire in Samantha's eyes, the passion behind her words. But passion alone wasn't enough. Pam had built her career on more than just emotion. She had built it on action. And now, she was going to show Samantha and everyone watching why she was the one standing on this stage. The tension in the ballroom was electric. The confrontation between Pam Bondi and Samantha Reed had quickly escalated from a bold interruption to a full-fledged debate, playing out in real time before an audience of political insiders, legal experts, and journalists who smelled a viral story in the making. Pam straightened her shoulders, her expression calm but unwavering. She knew exactly what was happening. Samantha was pushing for a reaction, hoping to expose a weakness or hesitation. But Pam Bondi had built her career on staying composed under pressure. She took a deep breath, then spoke, her voice steady and firm. Samantha, I don't shy away from tough conversations. But what I won't do is let emotions replace facts. You say the law fails people. Tell me, what's your solution? How would you fix it? The crowd hummed with curiosity. This was a tactical move. Instead of defending herself, Pam had shifted the burden onto Samantha. If the young activist couldn't provide a solid answer, the credibility of her argument would crumble in front of everyone. Samantha hesitated, but only for a second. I would start by holding people in power accountable, she shot back, her voice sharp. By ensuring laws protect the vulnerable, not just the privileged. By making sure people like you, people with influence, don't look the other way when the system fails. Some members of the audience clapped. Others murmured in disagreement. Pam, however, didn't flinch. Instead, she smiled slightly. Accountability is crucial, she agreed, nodding. But tell me, do you believe I look the other way? Or do you just assume that because it fits your narrative? The question hung in the air like a challenge. Samantha's lips parted slightly, caught off guard by the directness of it. She wasn't expecting Pam to turn the tables. This wasn't a politician dodging a question. This was a woman who had spent her career in the legal system, one who knew exactly how to dismantle a weak argument. The cameras zoomed in, capturing every detail, the flicker of frustration in Samantha's expression, the unwavering confidence in Pam's stance. This moment would be replayed on every news station and social media platform within hours. Samantha exhaled sharply, gripping the microphone tighter. I think the problem, she said finally, choosing her words carefully, is that people like you claim to fight for justice, but when confronted with the reality of those who suffer under the system, you play defense instead of making real change. Pam's expression remained unreadable. Then she stepped forward, closing the space between them slightly. Let me be clear, she said, her voice lowering slightly. I don't play defense. I win cases. I've taken criminals off the streets. I've fought for victims who had no one else fighting for them. And while you stand here demanding action, I'm the one who has spent my career making sure action happens. The room erupted. Some cheered, others booed. But one thing was clear. This wasn't just a debate anymore. This was a battle for who controlled the narrative. And Pam Bondi had just turned the entire conversation in her favor. The atmosphere in the ballroom was charged, almost like a courtroom showdown where both sides refused to back down. Pam Bondi and Samantha Reed stood in the center, two forces clashing in front of an audience that couldn't look away. Pam knew how these moments worked. One misstep, one slip in composure, and the media would spin the story against her. But she wasn't going to let that happen. Samantha, sensing the shift in energy, adjusted her posture. She wasn't just an activist. She was a media-savvy powerhouse. And she wasn't going to let Pam Bondi take full control of the narrative. "You talk about winning cases," Samantha said, her tone sharp. "But the reality is, winning doesn't always mean justice. How many times have the powerful walked free while the weak suffered? How many times have you chosen the easy battles instead of fighting for those who truly need help?" The room tensed. Samantha had gone on the offensive. Pam didn't blink. This was exactly the kind of emotional argument she had been expecting. She took a slow breath and smiled, not out of amusement, but because she had just been given the perfect opening. "You're right," she said, her voice measured. "Justice isn't about easy battles. That's why I've spent my career going after criminals who prey on the weak. That's why I've taken on cases no one else would touch. But tell me, Samantha, what have you done? Besides standing here, throwing accusations, what have you actually done to change the system?" The audience gasped. Pam had flipped the script. Samantha opened her mouth, but no words came out immediately. The moment stretched, just long enough for the cameras to capture the hesitation. And in the world of viral media, that moment would be the defining image of the debate. Samantha finally composed herself. "I bring awareness," she said, but there was less fire in her voice now. Pam nodded, almost approvingly. "Awareness is good, but it's not enough. Words are easy. Action is what changes lives." The room erupted. Some clapped, others whispered among themselves. But it was clear Pam Bondi had just taken control of the debate. Samantha's face tightened. She wasn't defeated, but she knew she had lost ground. This wasn't over. But Pam had just won this round. The ballroom buzzed with energy. The verbal sparring match between Pam Bondi and Samantha Reed had turned into a moment no one would forget. Pam stood tall, her confidence unshaken. Samantha, though still composed, had been thrown off balance. The cameras had caught it. The slight hesitation, the flicker of uncertainty. In the fast-paced world of media, that was all it took. The moderator, sensing the heightened tension, finally stepped in. "All right, let's bring this discussion back to the main topic." But before he could finish, Samantha spoke up, her voice cutting through the noise. "You think action is what changes lives, Ms. Bondi? Fine. Then let's talk about your record. Let's talk about the policies you've supported, ones that have hurt real people." A murmur rippled through the audience. The fight wasn't over yet. Pam took a slow breath. She wasn't going to let Samantha dictate the pace of this conversation. "Let's talk about my record," she said, stepping forward slightly. "I've fought to keep dangerous criminals off the streets. I've pushed for laws that protect victims, and I've stood against corruption at the highest levels. So tell me, which of those policies do you think are hurting people?" Samantha narrowed her eyes. She hadn't expected Pam to challenge her so directly. "You've supported tough-on-crime policies," she shot back. "But have you considered how those policies affect people who don't have the resources to fight back? What happens when the system punishes the poor more than the guilty?" The question hung in the air. Samantha had found her opening. The audience leaned in, waiting for Pam's response. Pam didn't rush. This was a critical moment. One wrong answer, and Samantha would regain control of the narrative. The law isn't perfect, she admitted, and no system is without flaws. But justice isn't about ignoring crime. It's about making sure laws are applied fairly. And that's exactly what I fight for. Some nodded in agreement. Others remained skeptical. But Pam's calm, unwavering tone had diffused some of the tension. Samantha, however, wasn't done yet. "Then prove it," she said, stepping forward. "If you believe in fairness, if you believe in fixing the system, show us how you're making it better, not just enforcing what's already there." A moment of silence. Pam studied Samantha carefully. This wasn't just about politics. This was about trust. "Challenge accepted," she said. The room held its breath. Pam Bondi and Samantha Reed stood just a few feet apart, the weight of their words pressing down on the audience like a storm waiting to break. Pam had just made a bold move. Challenge accepted. It wasn't just a response, it was a promise. But Samantha wasn't ready to let go. "Then let's talk specifics," Samantha said, her voice sharp. "What are you doing right now to fix the system?" Pam didn't flinch. She had expected this. "I support criminal justice reform where it makes sense. I believe in second chances for those who truly deserve them. But I will not stand by and let violent offenders walk free in the name of fairness. Justice is about protecting innocent people, too." The audience stirred. Some nodded in approval. Others whispered in debate. Samantha, however, wasn't satisfied. "That's a nice speech," she said, folding her arms. "But words don't mean much unless they lead to real change." Pam let the words settle. She could sense it now. Samantha wasn't just trying to score points. She truly believed in her cause. And that was something Pam could respect. "Then let's stop talking and start doing," Pam said suddenly. The room froze. Even Samantha blinked, caught off guard. "What do you mean?" she asked cautiously. Pam stepped forward. "You clearly have passion. You clearly want solutions. So let's work on something together. You and me. Let's find common ground instead of turning this into a performance for the cameras." A shockwave went through the audience. No one had expected this. Not the press. Not the event organizers. Not even Samantha. The young activist hesitated. She had walked into this room expecting a fight, not an invitation. She glanced at the cameras, the journalists scribbling furiously, the audience waiting. Was this a trap? A way to silence her? Or was Pam Bondi actually serious? For the first time all night, Samantha didn't have an immediate response. And in politics, that silence spoke volumes. The air in the ballroom had shifted. Pam Bondi's challenge wasn't just a clever debate tactic, it was a real offer. And now all eyes were on Samantha Reed to see how she would respond. For the first time that night, the confident young activist hesitated. She had come here prepared for a fight, armed with facts, passion, and the support of her followers. But this wasn't part of the plan. "You want to work together?" Samantha finally said, her voice a little softer, as if testing whether Pam really meant it. Pam nodded. "That's right. You're passionate, you have ideas, and you clearly want change. So instead of standing here arguing, let's actually make something happen." The audience stirred. This wasn't the kind of clash they had expected. Samantha's mind raced. If she accepted, it could be an opportunity to push for real change. But if Pam was just using this as a PR stunt, it could backfire in ways she couldn't afford. She exhaled sharply. "I need specifics. What do you actually want to do?" Pam didn't hesitate. "We sit down, off camera, and talk about real solutions. No speeches, no grandstanding, just actual discussion." If you're serious about change, then let's see what we can accomplish together. Samantha studied Pam's face, looking for any sign of dishonesty. But there was none. Pam meant every word. The silence stretched. Everyone waited. Then, finally, "All right," Samantha said. "Let's talk." The room erupted. Some cheered, others murmured in disbelief. The press scrambled to capture the moment. This wasn't just a political debate anymore. This was something new. The shock of Samantha Reed's agreement rippled through the ballroom like a thunderclap. The crowd had expected a heated debate, a bitter clash of ideologies, but what they got was something far more powerful, a potential alliance. Pam Bondi extended her hand. A test. Samantha looked at it for a long second. Accepting it meant more than just a handshake. It meant putting aside ego, political theater, and personal biases for something bigger. Slowly, she reached out and shook Pam's hand. The cameras flashed. This image would be everywhere within minutes. Journalists rushed to ask questions. Was this real? Was it a stunt? What would happen next? Pam ignored the chaos and leaned in. "We start small," she said, just loud enough for Samantha to hear. "One issue we can actually tackle together. Something that helps real people." Samantha nodded. She had spent years calling for action. Now she had a chance to take it. "All right," she said. "Let's see if you mean it." The moderator, still recovering from the unexpected turn, finally stepped forward. "Ladies and gentlemen, it looks like we've just witnessed something remarkable tonight." The audience clapped, some with hope, others with skepticism, but one thing was certain. This night had changed everything. And as Pam Bondi and Samantha Reed walked off the stage together, discussing next steps, the world was left to wonder, had two rivals just become allies? Wow! What a journey! Tonight, we witnessed an intense clash of ideas, a test of convictions, and an outcome no one saw coming. Pam Bondi and Samantha Reed stood on opposite sides, ready for battle. But instead of just another political showdown, something different happened. A challenge, an unexpected offer, and a chance for real change. This story reminds us that true leadership isn't just about winning arguments, it's about finding solutions. It's about having the courage to stand your ground, but also the wisdom to know when to build bridges. Now, the real question is, could something like this happen in the real world? Can people with opposing views actually work together? Or is this just a story? Let us know in the comments what you think. Would you trust this kind of alliance? Or do you think one side is just playing politics? Make sure to hit that like button if you enjoyed this video, and don't forget to subscribe so you never miss another incredible story. Turn on notifications so you're always up to date with our latest content. Thank you for watching, and remember, the most unexpected stories are often the most powerful. See you in the next one.